Hi, I'm Heather with Tropica Exotica, and in this video I'll be talking about emotional symptoms relating to spiritual awakening process. So one of the biggest parts of a spiritual awakening process involves looking at our inner selves. So basically what we have to do is look at our traumas and those unhealed parts of ourselves. And honestly, this process can't be bypassed because these incoming energies are forcing us to look at ourselves. So what I recommend is for people to see a therapist. I think, if you have health insurance covers therapy a lot of the times. If not, I would look for a resource that maybe is not as expensive, but always try to look for the best qualified person for you. And I think that the reason that you really want to see a therapist is because this will help you understand your family dynamics, and it will also help you understand the filters from which you perceive. And, I know it can be difficult to go, but once you start going and once you overcome that initial fear, I think that you'll actually find that you enjoy it. You'll start to feel more comfortable. There's parts in the process which obviously are not fun. You may be upset, you may start crying, it may talk about uncomfortable things. But the end result is that you will be much happier and you will be coming from a much better place. And actually what will end up happening is you can break those family dynamics that have been passed on from generation to generation. So you can actually prevent some of those toxic, unhealthy patterns from repeating. And also what ends up happening is once you become more emotionally aware and are able to respond appropriately rather than reacting in a negative way, other people will pick up on that and they will learn from that. So it will affect your own family relationships as well as those people around you. So that's something that I really recommend. And when you do see a therapist, you will find that, it can be difficult, but it's something that will end up being well worth it later on down the road. Because, when it comes to learning about yourself, you can read all the books that you want, but you really need an objective outside person who is trained in the emotional realm to be able to look at you and to help you. So that's kind of like my public service announcement for emotional health. So let's talk about some of the symptoms that you may experience during this spiritual awakening process. So you can have these periods when you go through this process where you're just sad and you're crying for absolutely no reason. So I distinctly remember having one of those nights where I couldn't sleep. I was laying on the couch and I just remember just starting crying. And I don't even know why I was crying. So sometimes what's happening is you're purging these emotions. And it could be your own emotions, it could be from your family lineage, it could even be from the collective consciousness. So, but what you just have to be aware is just to go ahead and process those emotions and let those tears flow. And recently what I've been experiencing is, I believe I'm experiencing a heart chakra opening where I have become extremely sensitive, where I cry about everything. So I've had to reduce my social media exposure because if I see a sad story or something like that, then I'll end up getting upset. So I'm still trying to work through that as well. So another emotion that you may experience is anxiety. And I plan to do a full video on anxiety at another time. But I feel like this is a really prevalent emotion. I hear a lot of people talking about this. And so right now, again, for these incoming energies that we're experiencing as part of this spiritual awakening process, they can cause you to feel ungrounded. and this can make you feel anxious. I think that these energies also increase anxiety if you already have anxiety. So some of the things that you can try to do, again, I would recommend therapy if this is something that is a daily occurrence for you that causes you distress. You can try grounding, which is to basically put your feet on the ground outside. You want to make sure that you reduce caffeine, and you can try to moderate your behavior and take yourself out of being around a lot of people. You can use grounding crystals. Black tourmaline, shungite, red jasper, and hematite are some grounding crystals that you might try carrying with you. And another thing is you can just try to practice self-care. Take some Epsom salt baths. That will help relax you. But I know that for me, because of these energies, sometimes I've had entire months where I have felt on edge. I remember distinctly going to a farmer's market and almost having a panic attack just because I just could not, I was just so anxious. But I know that that was tied directly to these incoming energies because those energies were really strong. And so what I've had to do is to try to moderate my behavior a little bit and try to not put myself in situations where I'm going to be around a lot of people when I can tell that that's what's happening. And so one of the most profound experiences emotionally is probably the feeling of loneliness during this process. This spiritual awakening process can basically turn your life upside down. You have a lot of emotional upheaval going on. You can end up having relationship changes. And so when you're going through this process and other people are not, you end up feeling isolated because you don't have anybody to talk to, or if they do talk to you, they don't really understand and can't really help you, or you're not really sharing information. So what I would recommend is to go try to find like-minded individuals, also known as kindred spirits or soul tribe. I think that has been the one single thing that has helped me the most during this process. And what ends up happening is you end up sharing experiences. People will share resources, and so what ends up happening is, you're connecting on a spiritual level. And so it's this instant connection where, you don't feel alone. And so I feel like that's really important. And so I'm going to list out some recommendations to try to help people find their soul tribe. So one of the things that you can try are basically just trying to put it out to the universe and use positive affirmations such as, I meet and easily connect with other like-minded individuals, or I have found my soul tribe. So just pick out a phrase and try to, say it a few times a day when you wake up, and just, kind of put that out into the universe. You could also pray if that resonates with you. You can go look for local spiritual meetup groups. That's just meetup.com. You can also try looking on Facebook to see if there's other spiritual groups. A good thing to look for are seminars, retreats, or events on spiritual topics. You can try visiting healing places and try to find other similar individuals, such as yoga studios, acupuncturists, Reiki, or other healers, crystal shops, metaphysical shops. And you can either, try to go to events there, or see if there's any events and retreats that they might recommend. And also you can just try throwing out a spiritual topic to a coworker or a friend and see if, they also have, something to say about it, because they may also be going through a spiritual awakening process. You just don't know. And then this concept called the dark night of the soul. I don't know if you've heard of that, but basically it's a whole huge topic, and I plan to do a video on that. But it's probably the most painful experience I've ever had. It's extreme emotional distress. that happens during this process. And what I believe is happening is it's the ego breaking down. So when you're going through this process, you have started with a certain set of mental constructs or belief systems. And so what ends up happening is those belief systems get broken down. And I believe that kind of ends up causing a break in the psyche. You also become aware of the lies that you've been told all your life, the control systems, who you thought you were. And so I think that, you know, after a while, I think you kind of take in this information as you learn. And I think there comes a point where it's like you just can't do it anymore. And you're like, you know, it's like this build up. And it is a very painful process. So again, I plan on doing a video just about this process later. And then dreams. So what you'll end up finding is your dreams become extremely vivid. So what happens is this energy is working through your subconscious. And so it ends up tapping into these buried emotions and traumas. And so your dream life starts to take on a whole nother life of its own. So you feel like you're living in two different worlds. You feel like you have a waking life and then you have your dream life, because it's so vivid. It's like the dreams can carry on. It's like there's a story that's being told and you're trying to unravel, like, what is the message here? So you may start to notice that your dreams take on a lot of animal symbolism, such as fish, snakes, lions, tigers, butterflies. I've probably had every animal show up in my dream. And so, you know, you might also experience precognitive dreams. So what will end up happening is you'll have a dream and then it could be a year or two later and then you'll have that experience. So what I would recommend you do is to keep a dream journal and put it on your nightstand. And the resource that I have used most frequently for dream interpretation is called dreamhawk.com. I think that site is really, really good and I highly recommend that. But what I have found is the dreams were probably the most important aspect to my spiritual awakening, because your subconscious is giving you clues and insights into you and who you are. And another thing that ends up happening is you end up becoming sensitive to other people's energy. So this experience has kind of caught me off guard at times. It's almost like your energy refuses to be around other people. And so things that you used to be able to tolerate, you can't any longer. So, you know, you might become irritated being around people that are gossiping or complaining or judging, people that interrupt you. Maybe you don't have anything in common. Maybe you feel drained or bored after interacting with them. So that's one thing that you just have to make sure that you're respectful of others, and just, you know, be aware that you're changing as a person. And so this may show up as, you know, rejecting being around certain people. So you just have to try to be respectful of your boundaries and others during this process. And then lastly, you really just start questioning everything. So everything comes up for review during this process: your career, your relationships, your belief systems. So basically you've been under this veil of amnesia, and this new you is just starting to become birthed. And so you are trying to determine what resonates with this new you. So it can be a very difficult process, because how you've defined, you know, so many different aspects of yourself is changing. And so, you know, the one thing that you want to make sure that you do is practice self-care. Journaling has been extremely helpful for me. I would recommend exercising. I would also recommend walks in nature. But I think that the one thing that has helped me the most during this process is finding other kindred spirits, soul tribe. I mean, that has been instrumental because all of a sudden, you know, you're forming connections with other people. I mean, these are people that you have had other lifetimes with, so there's usually an immediate resonance and familiarity, and I will probably have to do a whole video on that because I've had a lot of amazing experiences with my soul tribe. So anyway, so I hope that helps. Again, you know, if you have the opportunity, I'd highly recommend you to see a therapist. I really think that that's been beneficial. It will help process a lot of these emotions that are just going to be kept on being brought up because of these energies. So anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye.